Absolutely.
Yeah.
Apple deserves a lot of credit for their innovations in accessibility.
We do.
It's heartwarming to see these companies leveraging technology
Yeah.
to make a real difference in people's lives.
It really is.
It is.
Okay, so another win for Windows on accessibility.
Right.
But Apple is on the right track.
Definitely.
Now, Macs have always had a stellar reputation
They have.
when it comes to security and stability.
Yeah.
Is that still the case?
Traditionally, Macs have been considered more secure,
Okay.
partly because they're less of a target for hackers,
Right.
but also because of their built-in security features.
Okay.
macOS is built on
Unix.
which is known for its robust security.
It sounds serious.
It is. Yeah.
And macOS has this feature called Gatekeeper
Okay.
that prevents you from installing apps
Right?
from untrusted sources.
Okay.
It's like a digital bouncer for your computer.
I like that.
They also have a built-in anti-malware tool
Okay.
called XProtect
Right.
that's constantly scanning your system for threats.
Sounds pretty ironclad.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about Windows?
Windows has upped their security game significantly.
Okay.
They now have a solid built-in antivirus tool
Okay.
called Microsoft Defender
Right.
that's constantly updated with the latest threat definitions.
Okay.
It's not the malware magnet it once was.
So it's a bit safer to venture into the wilds of the internet
I would say so, yes.
on a Windows PC these days.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But our security experts still recommend
Okay.
using third-party antivirus software
Right.
on both Windows and macOS,
Got it.
just to be safe.
So no such thing as a perfectly safe operating system.
That's the reality, unfortunately.
Fair enough. What about stability? Macs have a reputation for being rock solid, right?
Yes, Macs are generally less prone to crashing
Yeah.
and tend to be more reliable than Windows PCs.
Yeah.
A lot of this comes down to the fact that
Mhm.
Apple controls the entire hardware and software ecosystem.
Right.
With Windows PCs, you have
Yeah.
all these different components from
Yeah.
different manufacturers.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't play nicely together.
Right. I've definitely had my share of driver conflicts and blue screens of death
Yeah.
on Windows PCs.
Mm-hmm.
Not fun.
Apple avoids those issues by controlling everything.
Right.
They design the hardware, the
Right.
software, even the drivers.
Yeah.
So it's all optimized to work seamlessly.
Yeah.
The result is a more stable and reliable system.
But Windows has improved in recent years, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Especially with Windows 11.
Windows 11 is definitely more stable than its predecessors,
Okay.
but it's still not quite as rock solid as macOS.
So if you're the type who absolutely can't stand crashes and glitches, macOS might be the way to go.
It's definitely worth considering.
Yeah.
Although if rock solid stability is your top priority,
Okay.
you might even want to check out Linux.
Linux?
Oh,
Is that for like hardcore techies?
it used to be, but
Right.
these days there are some super user-friendly Linux distributions out there.
Maybe I'll have to give Linux a try someday.
You should.
Okay, so another point for macOS on stability.
Right.
But Windows is getting there.
It is.
Now, we can't talk about operating systems
Yeah.
without addressing gaming.
Right.
For a lot of people,
Yeah.
that's a major deciding factor.
It is.
Is this where Windows finally gets to claim the crown?
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay.
When it comes to gaming,
Yeah.
Windows is the reigning champion.
Why is that? Is it simply a matter of the sheer number of games available?
That's a big part of it for sure.
Yep.
There's a much wider selection of AAA games available for
Right.
Windows than for macOS.
Yeah.
But it's also about the hardware.
Okay.
PC gamers. Yeah.
Love to build their own custom rigs
Right.
with the most powerful components.
Uh-huh.
They can choose exactly the processor,
Yeah.
the graphics card, the RAM,
Yeah.
and storage they want.
Right. Macs just don't offer that level of customization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Windows has some great features,
Okay.
specifically designed for gamers.
Yeah.
Like Game Bar,
Yeah.
which lets you record gameplay, track your performance,
Right.
and even chat with friends
Okay.
while you're playing.
And game mode,
yes.
which optimizes your system for peak gaming performance.
Right.
Yeah.
Microsoft has clearly put a lot of thought
Yeah.
into making Windows the ultimate gaming platform.
Yeah, they've done a good job with that.
Apple is trying to woo gamers,
Right.
but they've got a steep climb ahead of them.
So for the hardcore gamers out there,
Yeah,
Windows is the clear choice.
I'd say so.
Yeah. But what about people who are more into content creation?
Okay.
Which platform reigns supreme
Yeah.
for things like video editing, music production, and graphic design?
Well, that depends on the type of content you're creating.
Okay.
For video editing,
Yeah.
both platforms have excellent options.
Okay.
macOS has Final Cut Pro,
Right.
a professional-grade video editing suite.
Yeah, it's legendary.
It's a favorite among filmmakers and YouTubers.
Final Cut Pro is a legend.
It is.
I've heard it can do amazing things.
It's incredibly powerful and optimized for Apple's hardware.
Yeah.
So you can expect buttery smooth performance.
Right.
Even when working with high-resolution footage.
But on the Windows side,
Yeah.
there's Adobe Premiere Pro,
That's right.
another industry standard video editing software.
Right. And here's the best part.
Okay.
It's available for both Windows and macOS.
So you're not limited by your operating system.
Exactly.
If you're a Premiere Pro fan.
The choice really boils down to personal preference
Right.
and what kind of workflow you're used to.
Okay. What about music production?
Okay.
Does one platform stand out there?
For music production,
macOS has a slight edge
go ahead.
thanks to Logic Pro X,
Right.
Apple's professional music creation software.
So if you're dreaming of making hit records, Logic Pro X is the way to go.
It's incredibly powerful
Okay.
and popular with musicians and producers of all levels.
But Windows has some serious firepower in this category as well,
Oh, yeah.
with options like Ableton Live and FL Studio,
Right.
which are especially popular among electronic music producers.
Exactly.
Right? I've heard great things about those programs.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Both Ableton Live and FL Studio are available for
Right.
Windows and macOS.
So once again, it really comes down to personal preference
Yeah,
and what you find most intuitive to work with.
for sure.
Lots of cross-platform options for content creators.
There are.
Now, what about graphic design and photo editing?
This is another arena
Yeah.
where both platforms have some impressive offerings.
Okay.
macOS has Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo, which are fantastic and affordable alternatives
Yeah.
to Adobe's software.
I've heard good things about those.
They're powerful, intuitive,
Uh-huh.
and you only have to buy them once.
Right.
No subscription fees.
The one-time purchase is a big draw for a lot of people.
It is.
Yeah. What about the Windows side?
Well, Windows users have access to
Yeah.
the entire Adobe Creative Suite,
Right.
which includes industry giants like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign.
Right. Adobe is still the gold standard for many professionals.
It is.
Yeah.
But those Adobe programs are also available for macOS.
Right.
So the choice is ultimately yours.
Okay.
Both operating systems have incredible tools for graphic design and photo editing. It just
Yeah.
depends on your budget, your workflow,
Great.
and what you're comfortable using.
It's great that creators have so many choices these days.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We've talked about everything from the initial setup experience
Yeah.
to the world of immersive tech accessibility,
Oh.
security, and even content creation.
Right.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
And I hope we've given our listeners a solid understanding
Yeah.
of the pros and cons of both macOS and Windows.
I think we've done a pretty good job.
I think we have too.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the best choice really comes down to each individual user, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
You have to consider your needs, your budget,
Ah.
your workflow, and even your personality.
It's kind of like choosing a pet, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't pick a Great Dane if you lived in a tiny apartment.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right.
You've got to factor in your lifestyle and your available space.
Exactly. So it really is about finding the best fit for you
Yeah.
when choosing between a Mac and a PC.
Right.
But before we wrap things up,
Okay.
there are a couple more areas we should touch on.
Okay.
Like the overall device ecosystem
Right.
and, of course, the price difference.
Those are definitely important factors. Yeah.
When we talk about ecosystems,
Mm-hmm.
Apple's tight integration between its devices,
Right.
iPhones, iPads, Macs, Apple Watches,
All of them.
is a major selling point
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's all designed to work together seamlessly,
Yeah.
which can be incredibly appealing
Yeah.
if you're already invested in the Apple world.
I know a lot of people who love that seamless experience.
Right.
Everything just clicks.
Exactly.
But Windows has its own ecosystem advantages.
It does.
Think about the sheer variety of devices that
Right.
run Windows,
Yeah.
laptops, desktops, tablets,
Huh?
even gaming consoles like the Xbox.
Yeah, you've got a ton of options
You really do.
to choose from.
And let's not forget about the PC gaming world.
Right.
That's a massive ecosystem unto itself.
Absolutely.
And Microsoft has been making efforts
Yeah.
to improve integration between Windows PCs
Right.
and mobile devices,
Yeah.
especially Android phones, with their Phone Link feature It's not quite as polished as Apple's ecosystem yet,
Right.
but it's definitely getting there.
So both platforms have their ecosystem strengths and weaknesses.
For sure.
Now let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Price.
Right.
Macs have a reputation for being, shall we say, a bit more expensive than their Windows counterparts.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
Apple products generally command a premium price.
Right.
You are paying for a certain level of quality design and that seamless ecosystem we talked about.
Right.
But the price difference can be significant.
Yeah.
Especially when you compare entry-level Macs to entry-level Windows PCs.
Right. If you're on a tight budget.
Yeah.
A Windows PC might be a more practical choice.
It might.
But are there any situations where a Mac might actually be a better value?
Okay.
In the long run?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Macs tend to hold their value longer than Windows PCs. And because Apple controls the hardware and software, they typically last longer and require fewer repairs.
That's true.
So if you plan on keeping your computer for several years, a Mac might end up being a more cost-effective choice over time.
It's like investing in a high-quality piece of furniture that, will last for decades versus something that you might need to replace sooner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a matter of perspective and how you prioritize your spending.
Right.
Ultimately, the best choice, whether it's Mac or Windows, boils down to your individual needs, priorities, and budget.
So true. There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Yep.
And the good news is that both platforms offer a ton of options these days.
They do.
You can find a Mac or a Windows PC to fit just about any need and budget.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to do your research.
Right.
Read reviews and try out different devices before you make a decision.
That's great advice.
There's nothing like getting some hands-on experience
to
see what really clicks for you.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything in our Mac versus Windows deep dive.
I think so.
What a journey it's been.
It has been.
Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are still trying to decide which path to choose?
I'd say go with your gut.
Yeah.
We've given you the information, the pros and cons, the insights.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the best operating system is the one that you feel most comfortable and productive using.
So well said.
Thank you.
It's all about finding the tool that empowers you to do your best work and have fun along the way.
Exactly. Happy computing, everyone.
Until next time, stay curious.